Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Thursday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Excited for today's show, folks. You know, this show's been going for 19 years. It's old enough to sign up for the service. It's old enough to have a cigarette. It's not old enough to drink yet. But along the way, you meet some friends, and you meet some really good friends. And I'm glad to have two really good friends on the show today to get reacquainted, to find out what's new and exciting with them, and to along the way, you find out that you've grown, you've changed, and that some exciting things have happened in life. And I'm really excited for my two friends that are with me today, that they've gotten to travel the world and gotten to have experiences. That's not a proper English term, Tim. Got to have experiences in foreign countries. And today I want to sit and talk to them about some of these foreign experiences that they had, because we don't get outside of America too much to paranormal investigate. I know I haven't. I'm jealous. So I want to talk to them a little bit today about these experiences and how you can get involved and go with them to have some of these experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk to Grant and Reanna Wilson. Of course, you know Grant from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International. Grant's been actively involved in all types of paranormal investigations since his first intense encounter with the supernatural at age 15. He's paved the way for much of the modern field with his work with the Atlantic Paranormal Society, or TAPS, a group that he co-founded many, many moons ago. I believe I was like 5 when he started that. Not quite sure. Grant's uniquely tempered approach to his discipline has helped capture the world's attention on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, both of which he produced, as well as the Ghost Hunter Reboot, that's in quotes, which, by the way, I still love to watch to this day. We'll talk a little bit about some of the investigative techniques that are groundbreaking even to this day if you sit and watch. And he executive produced that program. He's spoken to hundreds of thousands of people and impacted millions worldwide with his extensive knowledge and down-to-earth technique, a mission that continues through his YouTube channel. We have a link to it in the description of this program. I want you to go check out that YouTube channel. Grant's been featured on many, many different talk shows with his investigative techniques and talked about them. He's the author of 6 books on the subject of the paranormal, one of which is a New York Times bestseller. He's an avid composer of piano music with 3 albums to date. Grant, is this 1,618 or 1618? How do you say that?
1.618, yeah.
1.618. All right. Liquid Earth and Christmas Tide. When he isn't helping people cope with the supernatural, Grant is usually found in a Disney park. Good taste. Traveling with the world or enjoying time at home with his 3 sons and, of course, his lovely wife, Reanna, who he's now traveling and investigating with, and whom he has completed hundreds of paranormal investigations ever since they were married in 1997. Ladies and gentlemen, Grant and Reanna Wilson, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's so good to be here, Tim, and to chat with you. It's been a while,
Yeah.
and much overdue. Absolutely. Yes. So we're grateful for the opportunity.
I'm so glad to have both of you on the program today. You know, one of my favorite memories is investigating with both of you at the Stanley. So I'm so glad that you're back here and we're talking about both your adventures out on the road and investigating today. So okay, you know what? First of all, Grant, I'm going to shove you aside. I'm going to ask Reanna, what has changed for you since? Gosh, I'm trying to think of how long ago that was. And investigating from then to now, how is
we investigated the Stanley Hotel like 30 times at least,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, but I'm thinking like, gosh, okay, so that had to be what, 08, 08, 07, 08, I think was
Probably.
when, yeah.
A long time.
More than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So from then to now, how has the experience changed for you?
So much.
Yeah. I mean, so back in the day, I always helped with the investigations, but we had little kids, so I was home and Grant would call me and we'd talk about the cases and all that. And we did our own personal, helping people. But the kids were my focus back then. They're grown now, they're men, and when we did the Ghost Hunters reboot, it was really a neat opportunity because, I got to actually be official and go on the investigations, be with the film
Producer,
crew.
yeah.
I was a producer on that. And so it was fun to be able to be on the scene working with him rather than behind the scenes, at home. So that's been a lot of fun. As time goes on and kids get older, you have the freedom to explore more and to just kind of take the time to answer the questions that you've had all the years, over the years and stuff. So yeah, we're good. Like we've done a lot. We've helped a lot and yeah, we're in a really good spot. And also being able to travel, like you talked about going to these other countries. It's just this has been an opportunity for us that's been phenomenal because we love doing events and conventions and all that but we never got the opportunity to kind of just really talk to people, to get deep, to teach and to learn because they're quick and there's a lot going on. When we go on these trips and visit around the world, you've got, almost 2 weeks with these people.
And you're on the bus with them. You're doing everything, the climbing mountains with them, whatever.
Yeah. So you really, really get the time and opportunity to get to know people, to hear their experiences, and you're sharing something amazing together. And it's really been life-changing for us to do that.
Now, Reanna's being modest here. When when we were filming Ghost Hunters, yes, she was. A lot of the breakthroughs on cases came from discussing them with her off camera quietly. So when we did the reboot, we made sure that she was a producer on it, an official, and having her there was. I'm not just saying this because she's my wife, but she's a very talented investigator with a lot of insight, and she brings a unique angle. But she would. Brought so much heart to it, and if she wasn't there, we would not have come to the conclusions we came to. Like it's what, for example, we went to Waverly Hills, and we've done Waverly Hills many times. And if you've been there, it's very active, but the activity is always kind of, or more often than not, is kind of distant.
Yes.
And we've struggled with that, investigation after investigation there. We know Tina well, and we go regularly. And this was always a source of frustration. Like, why are they keeping their distance? You'll hear activity, you go over there, and then it's where you were. And we last time when we went there, we had been sick, so we were coughing a lot. Mm-hmm. And it made, I think, Reanna click and go, wait a minute. She's told them, she's like, hey, we are not infected. We can't be infected. You can't make us sick with the tuberculosis and things like this. And she's like, we're not crazy. It's been fixed. We are immune to it. So feel free to come close. And they did immediately. So what went from like this playful thing that was avoiding you and everyone's adding mystery to it became very, very human and very, very sweet very quickly. These people were trying to not infect us with whatever they had. And once we explained that that wasn't an issue anymore, the activity came right to us. And every time we've gone back after that, it's been there for us. And we've reminded them. So it's that type of insight. Again, the world has this tendency to make the paranormal scary and mysterious and nebulous. And the more you study it, the more you realize it is the exact opposite. It is very humane and very rational and predictable. And that's been the focus of a lot of what we've been doing over the past few years.
Let me ask you about that moment, Reanna. So in that moment, when you're realizing that these things are keeping their distance, is it just an intuitive thing where you're like, wait a minute, I think I figured this out? Or is it something where you're getting a feeling from one of these spirits that, hey, I think I'm vibing with something in the room that I know why they're staying away from me? How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, before I met Grant and I worked in the medical field. for a long time. And, and then of course, being a mother, just the thought just hit me, these people, especially Waverly, they had to keep their distance. The doctors and nurses, when they went to go work there, they also lived there because they couldn't go home because of the possible, what do you call that? I just lost my word. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the possibility of being contagious and spreading that, and they didn't want to do it. So that's what made me think, because you can't tell in the episode when you watch it, but in between everything, we were coughing and hacking.
The editors did a great job.
I felt so bad. But that made me think, because I didn't want to get any of our coworkers sick, so all these thoughts were going through my head, and it dawned on me, oh my gosh, like they've learned to stay away from people. Someone new has come in and they don't understand the situation. So, I said, maybe it's this. And it really did change after we brought that up. Like, they were close to us, and things were happening next to us.
Communication.
Communication was amazing. Had some very strange experiences there, actually, but it totally changed the feel in the place. The kids the entities that are there were playing closer to us and interacting with us rather than, playing hide and seek and running away. So it really made a big difference. But
so stuff like this, Tim, has got like, if you followed us on Ghost Hunters and the reboot and all that stuff, like COVID hit and that all kind of shut down, right? Yep. And then you'll see that Rianna and I kind of went quiet socially. Yeah. Like we just, it's not like we lost interest or anything. What happened was, with COVID hitting, we couldn't, in good conscience, we couldn't film, we couldn't do investigations, we couldn't do events, we couldn't do anything. So we were just like, we can't do anything other than get online. But when you get online, people are talking about, lockdowns and pandemics, and there were big social and political events going on that we felt had needed more bandwidth than, hey, ghosts, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we were just kind of like, the whole world was telling us to stop. Just stop. You can't do anything, stop. And we're like, we're very passionate about the paranormal. So what do? We realized that, hey, these experiences we've had ever since I was 15, were very mysterious. And I don't talk a lot about them, but I'm starting to, because people feel that there's a need. Yeah. And it's very uncomfortable, but we start to talk about these experiences I had when I was young and how they operated in a different realm than most people are used to. What I was experiencing was not my dead grandmother walking across the living room. It was very strange. And so when COVID hit, we were like, hey, we can't really help other people right now. Maybe we can look at our own questions that we've had and we've been sitting on or packed away in a box for decades. What happened to us? What were these things about? How do they fit? And so we just had nothing going on. And fortunately, we were able to just dive in for years into researching this stuff. And I'll tell you what, when we researched elemental activity, which is more along the lines of what I had experienced that got me into this, we learned amazing things, Tim. And what we learned has completely affected our views on life, death, the paranormal, and the afterlife, and completely changed the way we look at it. And everything that was weird or mysterious, like I mentioned before, now makes perfectly logical sense. And we've applied what we've learned to our interaction with the paranormal. And I'm telling you, it's become more efficient and more effective. And understanding where these entities are in the afterlife and what challenges they face is the only real way to understand them, right? So paranormal investigators are really, really, really driven by technology now. Yes. Some reason. People are making gadgets and all this, and that's great, but it's blinded a lot of people because, a true paranormal investigator doesn't need proof. They need understanding, right? And if you want to understand somebody, you have to know their story,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I can't just come in and make assumptions about somebody and say, do this and it'll magically fix your problems. I need to understand where you're coming from, where you are, where you're trying to go, your challenges, what resources are available to you. And when I know those things, we can then truly help you, not just give you advice that makes me feel like I helped and I move on. You know what I mean?
Right.
It truly helped. And so this is what we've been doing. We've been experimenting, researching, and trying techniques, new and ancient. And we've made some what I would call some major breakthroughs. And so we want people to understand that we haven't been sitting idle. We've been in the lab, so to speak,
Okay.
head down, really getting to, I think, fill in the gaps that are missing in the paranormal realm. And that is humanity, understanding, and ethics. We don't need more flashy lights, right?
Right.
I mean, they're great and they have their place, but like, when you got a screw and a screw, you don't need every tool in your toolbox. You just need a screwdriver. You need the right tool at the right time. And and one thing that's missing is I believe this kind of logical spirituality of what's going on, understanding how the human condition transitions to the other side, and how to really help the entities, not just help us. Because it bothers me when when you're on an investigation or something like that, and there's someone who's sensitive there, which is a valuable tool.
Mhm.
Um, but they're like trying to get the entity to move on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're going to make this entity move on. And it's like, cool. It's convenient for you and the homeowner that the entity move on right now. But what about the entity? Maybe it's not a good time for that entity to move on. And so you have to understand where they are and what they need to truly help them. Otherwise, you're just doing what's good for you, not good for everyone involved. Anyway, I'm rambling, but
No, no, no.
very passionate about what's going on.
The other part of that too, Grant, and I think this is important to note, is understanding why the entity's there in the first place.
Exactly.
Much
Well,
like you're pointing out. And then the other part too, and I'm sorry, Rihanna, we'll get you in.
no, you're fine.
I just want to finish this thought. And that's this. Um, what it's doing there in the first place, what mission it has to carry out. And maybe we don't understand what that mission is. Like you pointed out, is there a difference? And I want to ask you this question in the research that you both conducted here. You've mentioned the word elemental. And when you say elemental, I automatically take my mind to the Palmer House Hotel here in Minnesota in Sauk Center. Supposedly, the elemental that's in the basement there is of an origin that is not quite human. So you don't quite understand what it is that's down there, right? You can't necessarily communicate in human terms, but you can relate to it in some sort, right? So it would be some sort of Native American spirit, perhaps. Um, you can try to relate to it, but it's not like, and I can't tell you how many times people have said, "Oh yeah, we think we've crossed it over, whatever." Okay, whatever, whatever.
It'll go when it wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't done anything to it. Whatever you can you want. But here's the thing as far as that's concerned. There's a reason why it's there. You can try to have some sort of communication with it, but it has a purpose. Sure, maybe it's tied to the land. It's tied to the land for a reason. It has a purpose. It has a mission. Maybe it's just always been. And maybe it's as natural as the water that flows through the land. Maybe it's as natural as the trees that grows there. Who are you to go in there and say, I'm going to disrupt millions of years of being in purpose because I feel like I'm going to move it and create something new. So I get what it is you're saying. With that, I'm sorry, Rihanna, you were going to say.
No, you're fine. Finish your thought. You're good.
Well, that's kind of the thought. Yeah, that's kind of the thought.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get kind of where it is you're going without knowing what it is you've studied. And that's kind of what I'm interested in finding out is that the separation you're trying to make between elemental and human, or am I not making the right correlation?
Well,
Well, I was gonna
Go ahead.
say, so I grew up seeing the dead. Like I'm looking at you. I can
She was
see you.
very open.
And so that was just something very normal to me. I didn't really understand it, but you know, I met him and I didn't know about his experiences for a little while. We both would talk about paranormal and
Again,
things
mine
that
was
we
so
love,
weird.
but
I was afraid to tell her. It took me 3 years of being married before I explained to her what happened to me when I was younger.
yeah. But he did, and being with him opened my eyes to the other side of things, the elemental side of things. And so that always helped us with our different cases and our different experiences. But when it came to what he'd experienced, there's not a lot out there to help you understand it or, anything about it. But because we had that time through COVID and we were able to kind of really focus on our own questions and our own experiences, we started to understand how they're both correlated, how they're kind of part of the same thing.
Mhm.
And we got to we had the time to experiment with it and to just really, I mean, be
So,
absorbed by it, So
yeah, and
yeah.
I think to speak to your question is it's more, I think, the other way around. Not that there's a separation, but that everything works together.
Together. Yeah.
So when we say the reason elementals factor in is that's what I had been experiencing on a daily basis for years when I was a kid, like very visceral interactions that in hindsight, we look at them and it tells a very interesting story, which we don't have enough time for
Sure.
here. But it tells a very interesting story. But it was the elemental question, like, what are these things? How do they fit in? Why me? All these things, like what's going on, that got us into the paranormal. But it's asking these questions that led us to a bigger understanding of the paranormal altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So the understanding of what elementals are and how they fit into the big picture unlocks a doorway to a better understanding of everything. Paranormal, like I said, life, death, the paranormal, and everything is affected. And I know this sounds ominous, and I didn't expect to go too deep into it, but I wanted to let you and other people know that we have been very actively researching this, and it's presenting beautiful things. And what as we take these tours around the world, we work hand in hand with a company called Mysterious Adventures Tours, and a lovely company, and they'll take small groups of people, anywhere from 20 to 40 people, depending on where we're going and when, and we go to these different countries. And when we're with these people, we're not hiding out in a hotel room. We're with you all the time. We're helping people see the depth of the locations we go to. We're trying to expose them to culturally significant practices or viewpoints of that country. And while we're doing that, the whole time we're doing that, we're talking deep, we're laughing, we're crying, we're healing, we're changing people, and they're changing us. So it's this mutual, beautiful thing. And so what I'm getting at is, as we've done this research, we share these things that we're learning piece by piece with people, and we're watching their heads explode, and watching them say, "Wow, this is the most logical thing I've heard," which is strange when you're talking about spirituality and the paranormal. And people are fascinated. We've had people say, "Look, I've been waiting 50 years for this, what you've been telling me," and so we realize that there is a burning thirst for this level of information, and there's also a burning need for this information in the world we live in now. Information to help you see the world more beautifully, understand the paranormal, to remove fear in almost every aspect of your life, and and build beautiful connections with people you've lost.
That's
It's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's been fascinating. We have demonologist friends that we chat with every once in a while, and they're always curious what we're doing, and we'll get on the phone with them, and I'll say anything interesting, any cases, and they'll tell me, and I'll say, try this, just as one little bit, like try this, or I'll give a viewpoint that just is a little left of center what they're used to, and I'll say, ever think about negative entities this way? And they'll always say like that makes more sense than anything I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not touting, it's just saying that we've
Right.
unlocked something and we want to share it, but we want to share it
It has to
correctly.
be done
It
right.
can't be done with a blowhorn. It's a very personal thing, and it's a very kind of delicate series of information that needs to be unfolded for it to all click correctly. And so we want people to know what we're up to and that this information will become available, but we're trying to do it in the right way that doesn't dilute the message or expose what we're sharing to people who would abuse it, or I don't know how to put that. You know how some people would be quick to challenge it just because it's coming from us or whatever, and try to disrespect it, and honestly the message is equivalently important to anybody who's a paranormal investigator, to someone who's I don't know, just a banker or a golfer or whatever.
Everybody. Yeah.
Anybody can benefit from what we're saying, and look at the world in a more beautiful way, and the relationships they have with other people and everything in the world will be changed, and that transitions. I know it's weird. It's very nebulous, and that's by intent, just because
Let me ask you this
we don't want to
question.
spill all the beans here.
Is it something where, and I don't know, you two can tell me this, is it something where someone might try to jump on it and try to twist it from a theological standpoint?
So what's cool about it is it's more about the mechanics of how everything works and how relationships work. It all boils down to relationships and a vitality exchange between things.
Okay.
So whatever your religious views are, as you hear it, it will naturally challenge them because it's spiritual, right?
Okay.
But it doesn't look down on religion.
It's
It doesn't
not a religion.
require you to it is not a religion, of
No.
course. No, it's a worldview. And it doesn't detract from your religious, like this is what's so fascinating about it is no matter what your religious beliefs are, even if you're atheist, this is how what we've discovered could potentially be. I'm not going to be definitive about it, but we feel it is the mechanics of how all that works. So you can understand how belief works, or prayer or intention all works the same. And the elementals are a key factor in that. And so again, without sharing it all here, because it's much too large to do
Right.
that. It's been fantastic. Like we went from, when you deal with negative entities, I don't want to get too deep into this, but when you deal with negative entities, right, there's a lot of misunderstandings. And we've been able to continually prove that these are misunderstandings and assumptions. And so when we approach a negative entity, we do it very efficiently and very quickly. So instead of using a lot of ritual and belief systems over the course of days, we can remove the threat of a negative entity in about 10 minutes. And
we've done it. It's not that we can, like, we've done it.
Yeah, we've done it multiple times. And
yeah.
Not only does it remove the threat of the negative entity in 10 minutes, but it recuperates the negative entity. So it doesn't bother anyone else again.
To someone else. Yeah.
So this is a big problem that we've seen when dealing with negative entities. We deal with them a lot because a lot of people don't know how to deal with them. Is that, yeah, it's great to help the client. You can help the client, and usually there's a problem, a real world problem the client needs to conquer so that negative entity doesn't come back, right? So like if you have a drug addiction, let's say, that makes you weak and attractive to a negative entity. So we would traditionally we would push the negative entity away to allow that homeowner or that client to change that aspect of their life so that there's nothing enticing should that entity return, right? But what does that entity do? It just goes off to another and bothers someone else. And so we're like, this doesn't feel right. How do we do this and fix this entity at the same time? So we help the client by removing that. We fix their issue that was the issue that attracted the entity in the first place. And then we recuperate the negative entity so it bothers no one anymore.
Really?
And this is something that just a little snippet into the stuff we've been doing, and its importance, right? No one's thinking about that negative entity. No one's thinking about what it needs. Everyone's making an assumption that it's inherently and eternally evil. And that assumption prevents people from even trying to help the entity. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just horribly inhumane. And so again, this is the type of stuff we're diving into, and there's way more. But this is the effect of what we've learned on how we address the paranormal, and really making a difference.
I can kind of see what you're saying without getting deeply into it. I totally get what you're saying there. All right. Well, with that, we'll take a break. When we come back, no, I mean, that's a good place to break. But so let me ask you this before we go to break here, to you both. Eventually, when do you roll this information out, or how does this information get rolled out?
We're working on, excuse me, we're working on some retreats, okay, where people can come and, it's just like a class. It'll be a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, but I think it'll go well, and they'll be set up in such a way that you have to go to the first course before you can go to the second course, and on, because they'll get deeper and deeper as we move on in the retreats, and we want people to be comfortable the whole way. So if they take retreat 1 and they're comfortable with that and they don't want to go any deeper, there you go. They're better for it. But, so that's what we're working on. We're hoping to do that very soon.
Yeah, we're trying very carefully to make sure that people get the amount they want instead of pushing it all on them. So the first retreat, there'll be 2 or 3. We're still figuring this out, but the first one is all about seeing the world differently and how that affects your life, your relationships, the paranormal, and everything. So that's a big thing about humanity. The second one is about communicating. You want to communicate with what's over there, with all this stuff. Here's how you do it. And the third one is creating, working together with the entities over there to make change here. Yep. So it's going to be small groups. We're not going to be doing 200, 300 people. We're 10 to 20 people at a time, because we'll introduce to people. We have people we're sharing this through to make sure the message is clear. Sharing this with to make sure the message is clear. But we'll start talking about stuff that to us is very, very simple, and people will be like, "Stop! Whoa! I need to digest that." Yeah. And so we have to pace it correctly, because everything we've learned is, I like to say, is just one tick left of center. So it doesn't take you a while. It doesn't take a lot for you to accept what we're saying, but
to understand it.
But to really digest it takes a minute. And it's these little science, like I said, the logical spirituality, and it has massive effects on everything, and honestly could revolutionize the way we approach paranormal investigation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then there's a huge jump between digesting and then putting it into practice. I mean, that's the other translation as well. I mean, so.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And we have workshops and things like that are part of it. So.
Yeah.
So no, I completely get why you're doing small groups and not releasing to the masses. I get that. So yeah, completely. All right. With that, we'll take our break. I want to remind people that right now there's only a few spots available to go with Grant and Reanna to their Czech Haunts and Legends trip, which is Mysterious Prague. You want to use the promo code Prague 2025 for $200 off per person with a 12-month no interest payment plan right now for $210 a month at mysteriousadventurestours.com. Now, we have the link in the description of this program. Again, you're not going to want to miss this, folks. It's a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Prague to enjoy a different culture, different investigation methods, and the trip of a lifetime to Prague, let's face it. So you can go with Grant and Reanna right now. And again, there's just a few spots available for this trip. So we're going to put the link in the description of this program to mysteriousadventurestours.com so you can figure out how to go to Prague with it. Now, when we come back, we'll talk about that trip to Prague. Plus, there is a trip to Japan that we're going to talk about, which happens a little bit later in the year. So when we come back, we'll talk about Prague and Japan. We'll talk to Grant and Reanna about how they're looking forward to both trips. We'll talk a little bit about past trips and different cultures, and we'll talk about the future when we come back with Grant and Reanna Wilson right after this on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guests are Grant and Reanna Wilson. Folks, we're just getting started. We have some great stuff ahead. We're talking about traveling with Grant and Reanna to different areas of the world in the second half of the program. We're going to talk about going to Prague and to one of my all-time favorite destinations. By the end of this program, I may end up in debt. We're going to talk about going to Japan for a paranormal trip here in the second part of the program and talking about doing it through Mysterious Adventures Tours. By the way, Maria is a great tour director over there at Mysterious Adventures Tours. And she lines up some of the best tours over there, guys. I can't tell you. Welcome back to the program, by the way. So I first of all, I want to start this out by talking a little bit about your past adventures. Tell me a little bit about some of the places you've been with Mysterious Adventures Tours, and some of the adventures you've already been on.
So going to these locations that we go to is they're always beautiful and amazing, and the food is always lovely, and Maria does a wonderful job, her and her team, of setting up these tours. But wherever we go, we try to immerse you into some aspect of that culture spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. So where we've been already, we've been to Romania, Greece, and Ireland. Mm-hmm. And we're going to Prague and Japan, and then
there's more
we can't talk about more, but there's some really, really good ones. We're bound by those NDAs, but for example, Romania. I mean, if you're in the paranormal, let's go to Romania. Who's going to say no, right? I was like, Romania, sure, let's go, let's check it out. Rihanna's a massive, Dracula fan and all that. So,
but it was always one of those places that felt like it was a fairy tale. Like, who goes to Romania, right?
But,
oh my gosh, it was incredible. And super safe. People were warm and amazing. Like, it just like, keep going.
So no, what's cool is that when we go on these tours, we see people who, the people who come on the tours are very, very interesting, and they teach us a lot. But it's always amazed me to see people who just like go by themselves. Like, I'm just going to go join this tour with a bunch of strangers, and not bring a best buddy or anything. And honestly, that's the smartest way to do it. If you want to travel the world, traveling with a tour company is safe. You've got people there holding your hand the whole time. Any questions you have, we always have a representative from that country with us when we tour. So any questions, you can ask them. And
the group always bonds very quickly.
Very quickly.
So
when we would do events with you back in the day, there would be like 4 days over the extended weekend or whatever. And those were always awesome. There are some events you go and you get there, you do a meet and greet, you do a lecture, and then everyone goes, and then the next day you do it again. And it's like the more you like shake someone's hand, and that's about the extent of the interaction. Where at the events we do with you, those 4 days were precious to me and to us because you can, it's the same people for those days. And you can really, if you remember, was never in the room. I was always in the lobby talking to people and trying to maximize their effort at coming there. I know it's a big sacrifice, but these trips take it to the next level where it's smaller groups, like I said, 20 to 40 for 2 weeks, typically anywhere from 10 days, 14 days, whatever. And you're doing everything together. And I'm telling you that these people, like Rihanna said, they bond. This is the true gem of these trips, is going to these amazing locations with like-minded people where you can be yourself and talk about anything. You see elves running across your backyard, these people will listen to you. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, I know from experience, but it doesn't matter. Everyone's very accepting and loving. And what's cool is Maria does a great job of fostering that. So before the trips, you get to know the people you're going on the trips. And then afterwards, there are chats that are ongoing. The Romania was over a year ago.
They're still talking.
And they're still chatting.
Every day.
Every day. Mm-hmm. So that's a beautiful thing. But specifically, like Romania, we went to a Halloween party at Dracula's castle on Halloween, right? Wow. And toured the castle, and there was a big like European ooch party, right? And everyone was there in costume, and that's about all it was for 4 hours. Yeah. Anytime the beat changed, it's because they were playing an American song, and then it went back to the European
for 30 seconds.
Yeah, for 30. I'll never forget the lady saying, "And this is Triller night." She was singing Triller. Not a bird, I guess, but so this is the type of stuff we do, right? And then we were able to go to Vlad Tepes' childhood home and investigate it. So we were now investigating in Romania is not done. So culturally, to get us to a point where we could get in and actually do investigations was an achievement, and we did and had some great activity. Another thing we did that was very unique is there is a prison in Romania, an active prison that has an abandoned part. And we were able to go and get access to that. So we pulled in on the bus, and they all took all of our passports and stuff.
Our phones and everything. It was a little scary.
Yeah, we had no phones and no passport. But then we got into this abandoned part of the prison, and it was very active and just emotional.
Been shut down for what, 20
years
or something like that. So
but this is the kind of special access stuff that we do. But culturally, I think everyone on that trip would agree the highlight was one night we took the bus off an exit, off the highway to an exit, and parked it and waited for Romani, right? The gypsies or whatever, Romani, to show up with their wagons. So this is pulled by a tractor, not a horse, but tractor and a wagon.
We're parked underneath like an overpass.
Yeah, and these guys meet us.
Dirt road. We
get on these wagons and go into the woods. And as we're going into the wood, I know it sounds sketchy, but it's all been vetted. Don't worry, it's safe. Okay. And we go into the woods, and it's dark, and everyone's kind of just enjoying the ride. And then you see in the distance firelight. And as we approach,
like torches,
there you see torches around this little lake that's full of roots and branches and really kind of Dagobah gnarly looking. Yeah. And we pull up, and there are 4 Romanian witches in the woods waiting for us. And so we all get off and walk up.
And they're legit. Like, this isn't a play that they put on. This is what they do. This is their life.
And so we pull up, and they give everybody. They talk, and they give everyone a torch, and they light the torch, and they do this beautiful ritual and ceremony of blessing. So they blessed all of us, and it was incredible because they were like violently confident that it was going to work. Like, they're just like, "Get out of here, you will get out of here. Only good." And it was very, very interesting to see this country's culture firsthand. And they had little charms we could get, and they did this beautiful ceremony. And I speak Italian fluently, so I understood probably about 50 to 60% of what they were saying. We had some translation at first, and they spoke English a little bit, but obviously their ceremony was in Romanian. And we were able to ask them deep questions about the afterlife and the way they view it, and the elementals and stuff. And so as we go, we're furthering our research, and everyone was blown away by this. When the torch, there was a part where the torch was low, and you go to the pond, and
the witch's pond is what it is.
Yeah, you put it out in the pond, and we were just in the woods. Where else are you going to get this? And then when it was over, we walked through the moonlit woods out
Just
back
quiet.
To the bus, and
It
it
was
was reflective and peaceful, and just
Wow.
incredible. Like, this stuff is, you're not going to get this on a Carnival cruise. You know what I mean?
No, 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 no.
No.
We did go to the Hoia Baciu forest as well.
Yeah.
And expected to, it was strange because I had expectations of how it was going to go. And it went very different up there than what we expected. There are paranormal stories, there are alien
UFO
stories, like
Missing
all kinds
people,
of
time
things.
slips, all this stuff.
All this stuff. But I will tell you, to be able to be there and just put your hands on the ground and feel it. Same thing happened in Greece. Like, it vibrates. It vibrates. Like,
Yeah.
it's the strangest, craziest thing. But
It's neat
yeah.
because, like we said, we get all kinds on these
Mhm.
tours, but everyone who comes is open-minded.
Yes, you have to.
But some people are more skeptic than others, right?
Mhm.
Sure.
And on these trips, you get these, in the first few days, you get these guys that are like, they're there because their wife is there or whatever, or something. They're just kind of like, or husband, and they're kind of, open but cautious, but by day 3, they're just like, you see them just like, okay, I can't deny this. This stuff is really going on. So Romania, this is an example of what the stuff we're doing, and we're eating beautiful food, amazing food the whole time. We're dealing with local people and learning the history and
Immersed
learning
in the
stuff. And we're doing,
culture.
like I said, we're doing active investigations too. In Greece was something that was like, I was interested in Greece for history, philosophy. As we did our studies and our research, we researched ancient cultures and even beyond Greece in age. But there was interest there, and because Greece did such a good job of documenting everything. So you get a good sense of how magic and spirituality and the paranormal was viewed because they were so thoroughly documented. And this was my interest. But other than that, it's like, sure, Greece, let's go. What I'm excited to see the old buildings.
Yeah.
And man, one of the things we did was we worked with this woman, Catherine Cyrillos, who is a priestess over there. And everybody who was on this tour, if they wanted to, like, abstain from meat for a week and intimacy and all that stuff.
Really?
Just because we wanted to maximize, like, this is what this woman said was going to happen. We were going to do this ancient Greek ritual, the Eleusinian memories, and that's what they did back in the day. So we're like,
cleanse yourself and purify and be ready to participate in this.
And I'm just like, sure, whatever maximizes my ability to feel whatever happens, it's not going against anything. So we went to the oldest amphitheater in the world in Greece, and you just walk through it. There's no one guarding it. It's just there by the sea, and Poseidon's temple is over on a hill, and it's beautiful, and everyone dressed in white.
Which was wild to see.
And this woman led us in this. I spoke Greek the whole time, but she summarized what she was doing. She was basically imploring each of the 12 gods to give us what we needed and to open us up spiritually. And we're all like, sure, whatever, we're doing our thing. And when it was over, we're like, that was beautiful, that was incredible, and that was wild. And then as the trip went on, oh my gosh, everybody, even the skeptic people, were like, can you turn this off? Like, this is too much. We were experiencing that country. I've never had experiences that I've had in that country. It was wild. It was, you ask anybody who's been on that trip and they'll be like, it's life-changing. And it was a very spiritual trip, a very small group. But we were doing things like that, like, we were there barefoot on ancient Greeks, and you could feel it coming through your feet. You could feel this magnetism. And again, these skeptical people were saying, of course, I feel it. I feel it. We went into a cave that was Pan, the ancient nature god. Like, that's where they would revere him. They didn't revere him in temples. It was always in caves. I think there was one temple.
One temple. Mm-hmm.
So we as a group go in there, and we're just like, okay, let's see this. And it's beautiful, it's impressive. But as you're going in, someone, the woman from Greece was like, just pay attention to the walls. And we're like, okay, and we're looking at the walls, and you can see not that the rock is actually moving, but there was some kind of effect, and everyone saw it. It was like vibrating or breathing, like pulsating. And we got in that cave, and half the people left instantly because it was too overwhelming. And it was just,
it's also
something's going on in Greece.
It's also a place where, what was it? NATO? Was it NATO?
Yeah. So NATO ran experiments there.
Would run experiments.
Really?
There. And yeah, they still had little bits and pieces from the experiment there. But that particular cave, they were there for a while. And the Greeks will tell you all kinds of stories about what they say they saw coming out of the cave at different times. And when NATO was done, they blocked off the portion of the cave that they were experimenting in. You can't get in there.
But there's a little bunker outside still that shows that they were there. But
yeah, and you can, there's definitely stuff going on there.
So I won't get too into it, but the Montauk experiment, right? And
yes.
Yeah, so it's that type of stuff they were doing there. And what's fascinating is that cave is called Daveli's Cave, and it was named after a notorious thief, mm-hmm. Daveli, right? And he was considered such a good thief because he would go to that cave and then simultaneously appear like 6 hours away.
5 minutes later,
people would see him somewhere, or like he would take his treasure and take it there, and no one would be able to find it. And so there's these. This is before NATO got there, right? And so there are all these rumors about like some kind of portals going on there. And then NATO shows up and does experiments like the Montauk experiment there. And there are organizations that are still doing it in that area. And when you go there, I won't get too into it.
Flying overhead, like it just
weird stuff that you're feeling. Yeah. And you know me, like I keep my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But when you're getting ripped off of the ground, you can't deny it, right? Like, my feet on the ground, my head in the sky. But so these are some of the things you're going to experience on these trips. But what's cool is we did this nice, again, to show the other side of it. We did one of these beautiful celebration dinners in this restaurant in Greece, and the previous mayor of Delphi was like owning the restaurant or something like that. Like he gave Maria the key to the city and all this stuff. But they brought in traditional dancers, and they danced, these traditional Greek dances, and told us the story of the dances, and then got us up and danced too. And it's just,
well, we ate the traditional meals and all that, and it was just our group. It wasn't our group in a section of the restaurant while they served other people. It was just our group.
Oh, wow.
So it's these incredible things. And we did an investigation at an abandoned asylum there, and just incredible stuff. And then we go to Ireland, and what's neat is each country is completely different. And we go to Ireland, and that by this point we're seeing familiar faces in the travels. Like people are coming and joining us who've been on other ones before. They start to understand the value of it.
Yeah.
And in Ireland, again, we were there for Halloween, and we had Lep Castle to ourselves for Halloween night.
Oh, wow. 5 hours, 6 hours.
Sean Ryan played for us, his pipe and all that. And we got to go to his pub, the Crane Bar in Galway, and he watch him perform. And he invited anyone with musical experience to perform. So Reanna and I were like, we're going to kill ourselves if we don't. So we popped up and did an old Irish folk song.
I'm so nervous, but I'm glad I did it.
And it was great. It was great. Everyone who was there was just like, what? And we sang harmonies and all this. And Sean Ryan kept asking us, he's like, please do you have another song you can share? Please. That was brilliant and all this stuff. And
oh, wow.
It was lovely. We went all over the place there. Again, we had investigations at Lep Castle and
Fae Farm we went to.
We went to Pat Noon's Fae Farm. I don't know if you've seen that. Fairy Farm.
Yeah.
He's an incredible
Very
guy.
neat guy.
And we went there, and it was just transformative. Everyone who we went to the Puka Festival, where they celebrate the origins of Halloween, and we watched the parade. We all dressed in costume and walked around and got pictures taken by all the people.
It was so much. Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. If you want to travel and you're a paranormal enthusiast, um, this is the way to go, no doubt. And the company is so thoughtful and so caring. And they really do care about people. And we've watched this woman, Maria, make she'll be faced with a decision of, do I do what's right or do I do what's financially right? And she will always do what's right.
Yes.
She always does what's right, and she'll eat it financially if that means that the people are going to have a better time. And she's truly invested in changing people's lives. And we have that same message, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
not like, hey, this is how we make our money. We don't need to do these trips.
Mm-hmm.
We do them because we love it. We love to travel. We love to experience other cultures, and we want to share that with you, and we want to learn from you, and and hopefully you can learn something from us.
I know a few people who go on these trips who absolutely love them and return over and over and over again because the experiences are once in a lifetime and they've become family with a lot of the people that go on them, and they swear by them. They return over and over and over again and go to multiple destinations because they're life changing. So yeah,
They
it's
truly are, and we keep going again, like I said, because they have changed our lives. Each trip and the people we've met some of them have become close friends. You know, and it's neat because listen, there's an attitude that I've seen over the years among paranormal investigators or paranormal enthusiasts of there's this innate humanitarian, like people who are fans of it or who are passionate about it are different than the people who are necessarily uh, on TV and leading it, right? They're different. Um, and seeing the people who come who are paranormal enthusiasts they want to be accepted and they want people to feel accepted and they are eager to help each other. And this is one thing that constantly blows our minds. Like when we were at Hoiabaciu Forest in Romania, the bus parks on the side of the road and there's a hill. And it's a steep hill for a lot of people. And, you know, everyone on that tour helped everyone else get up there.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing. And someone gets sick, everyone's pulling out their meds and like, okay, what do you got? And helping everybody. And it's just it becomes a beautiful thing. It really is. You've seen the bonding that happens at the events we do with you. Times that times 100. And it's just really wild. And you see people, it's so fun to see people come in kind of gruff or not, not expecting something much. And then by the end of the tour, being a completely different person, open up and just having their mind blown and thinking about the world differently while they're enjoying these beautiful places.
And there are all kinds of tours like out there where you're going to go, you're going to have an amazing time. You're going to have these, experiences that only the tour group gets to do and things like that. But when it comes to these trips, they have that paranormal, that supernatural, that mysterious angle, and you're not going to find that in a lot of other trips.
And it's if I can, it's the paranormal view. It's like the spooky paranormal, mysterious viewed the right way.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this is what I'm saying. A lot of tours they focus on, and I posted this before. When did the paranormal become about scaring and not caring? Right.
Right.
And so this is what I'm saying. You'll go to these places and you'll feel things and you'll be changed, but it's always a beautiful thing. We're not there to terrify you. Like when we go to Japan, we're going to the suicide forest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're going with reverence, not,
ooh, I want to find
yeah, this is not a
or-
Blumhouse movie. You know what I mean? Like these are real people who had real problems, and we're going to respect that. So it's a beautiful experience, on these tours. But yes, you can go on other tours, going anywhere and have great experiences. But there's something about this company and the way they do it where they're calling it transformational tourism. So it's not there to just show you the place, buy the t-shirt, take the picture. We want you to go home a different person.
And I get that that's what's happening. You totally are transformed by the way you experience everything there. I mean, it's not just, you're not just showing up, you're showing up and showing out. I mean, that's essentially what's happening is you're becoming one with the country and the people that
Yeah.
you're experiencing. So
Yeah, and we're not trying to pack in a checklist on these things, right? It's not like, okay, day one, we're doing 8 things because this is what you want to do when you're here. We we we've learned that less, like quality over quantity. So, we'll keep you moving, but we make sure that when you're in a location, you have the time to feel it,
Right.
not just look at it, take a picture and leave. You have the time you need to feel it.
And that's a lot of what we do, because when you do go to other countries, like Grant mentioned, some places you can't investigate. Like you have to have special permits or permissions to be able to do that. So how do you investigate in a country that's not okay to do? Well, you go and you sit down and you just have some time to absorb it and get in the mindset, what feels different and what are you experiencing now that you have a minute, but so these investigations, it's also very cool to see how they do it in other countries.
Yeah.
People who are able to do the investigations, like how do they see it differently, and how do the investigations differ because of the culture and what's expected.
Right.
So that in and of itself is a neat thing to experience and be a part of.
Yeah, we usually connect with a group from that country that does investigations, and we learn from them. And like when we were in Ireland, there was the Puka Paranormal, not associated with the festival, but there are these 3 ladies, and they're equally talented investigators and equally crazy fun.
They're fun.
And so to watch them bring their Irish mentality and culture into the investigation is awesome. And we just want to expose people to more than what they see on a TV show.
Yeah, and in Romania, we didn't have a paranormal team that we worked with, but our tour guide there was Romanian.
And his name is
Vlad. And he's related to Vlad Tepes.
Yeah.
So when we were doing an investigation in Vlad Tepes' childhood home, our tour director that wasn't like super into paranormal was amazing, because he sat in there with us and he translated and he tried to connect, and things happened. Like it was really a neat experience.
Yeah, because he's technically trying to connect with an ancestor. Yeah. And so we played off that, and it worked.
Yeah.
Wow. Sitting here and I'm looking at the itinerary for Japan alone, because I got a peek. I'm not going to lie. I've had a fascination with Japan since I was little, and
Same.
just to see the. Have you ever been, by the way, Grant? Have you ever been to Japan?
So no, this has been a lifetime dream of ours. We're currently learning Japanese. I love to cook. I like to cook Japanese stuff. I love sushi.
We love anime.
We watch anime. And our kids are into it too. And for this to happen this way, for our first trip to Japan to be with this company, with loving people, with a paranormal twist. But again, it's not all paranormal focus. We also focus on history, and we went to ancient ruins in Ireland and all that stuff.
It'll be very spiritual this one, I think, because of the culture.
Yeah, never been. So we're really, really excited. And in the itinerary you're looking at, Tim, is just a draft, right? So there's stuff in there, obviously we're doing, but there's way more stuff that we're looking at doing, and we don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
But there are some really, really interesting cultural things we're doing. And we're working with a company over there that specializes in that, like, transformational tourism we're talking about. So we have the itinerary, but we're also working on the spiritual itinerary. Like, what are you going to experience at the beginning, and how can we transform that over the course of the trip to open your mind.
Wow. Yeah, it's
we're staying at the Godzilla Hotel.
I mean, come on.
Well,
now I'm a massive fan of Godzilla, and there's a hotel there with Godzilla attacking it, and we're gonna stay there. But we're also staying at like traditional Japanese inns, or like
riding the bullet train,
the Shinkansen,
Mount Fuji,
We're doing the onsen. We're going, like I said, we're doing the Suicide Forest. We're also going to Arashiyama bamboo forest. You've seen those pictures of just the bamboo. We're going in there. We're going to the Inari temple, or shrine, where they've got the thousand torii gates and stuff, where Miyamoto, who invented Mario and Zelda, spent all his time as a kid, and was inspired by that to make his games and things like that. So might do a slight investigation at Osaka Castle. Just crazy stuff. Traditional tea ceremonies. We don't want to spoil it. We don't want to spoil it, but because the other thing, there's always surprises on this. We always hold stuff back, so you see what you're getting for your money.
Yeah.
And then you get more.
And Maria likes to surprise us too sometimes. So sometimes there's something really neat that even we don't know about.
I have one of the more treasured pictures I have. In World War II, my grandfather was a frogman in Corregidor in the Philippines, but he ran a 10-day mission in Japan, and he actually took a black and white photo of Mount Fuji. And so that's one of my most treasured photos that I have. So
you come with us, take your own picture.
I want to, and the worst idea. I'm sitting here looking at this itinerary, and I don't know how you're going to keep me away, to be honest.
It is probably our longest trip we will have done.
Yes.
It's a very long trip, so I know people have work and things like that, but you make it happen, man. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's the longest one, and it's you look at it and it's significantly more expensive than the other ones. But if you look at tours, we've done the research with Maria. You look at tours offering similar, it won't be similar experiences, but offering a similar intensity. She's well below them. Like, you're just not. She's again very, 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 very fair.
I'm looking at it, and it's really fair. It's really fair. Probably almost criminally fair.
It really is. When we looked at the any potential competing trips, so to speak, which there really aren't any.
Yeah.
We were like, Maria, are you sure? Like, like don't shoot yourself in the foot with this. And she's like, no, I can do it.
But she also does the payment plans too, which are really super.
Nobody else does it.
Yeah.
Interest-free
payment plans. So it makes it a more approachable for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing what she's managed to do with this company, and what she's giving you in value is amazing as well. Folks, we're putting a link in the description of this program so you can travel with Grant and Reanna to both to Prague and to Japan. Boy, you two have quite the 2025 ahead of you. That's for sure. The Japan trip is August 5th through the 19th.
No, October.
October. I'm sorry. Did I say August? I meant October.
Yeah.
October 5th through the 19th, which is perfect. You're going to start off your spooky month with a wonderful trip to Japan, and then come back just in time for Halloween, which is an amazing month in itself.
We'll actually be home
for Halloween.
Wow.
Like Santa, he's not home for Christmas.
Yeah.
No, but that's amazing. That's an amazing October. That's for sure. And wow, I'm looking at that fan trip and salivating. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But yeah,
the stuff we know about that we can't tell you, that would definitely send you over the edge. So
there's only one thing in there that I'm wondering if my own personal favorite. She put it in there, and I'm telling you, I would pack myself in your suitcase. There's a steakhouse in Japan that all the wrestlers go to.
Yes.
Are you aware of it?
Yeah.
Ribera, I believe it's called.
Yeah. I know. I don't know it by name, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's like a dream destination for me. That's the one place I want.
You know what?
Don't tell me.
Sumo might be cool. I'm just saying.
Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me sumo as well.
Possibly.
See, now I gotta figure out a way.
There are things in the works. That we don't want to share them because they're in the works, but also we want to keep some surprises.
Yes.
But I mean, making sure we ride the bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto, is is again, that's part of the experience, you know, like
Yeah.
thinking of things like that, and the onsen, and even if you have tattoos, that's fine. We find the ones that
We'll
you
find
can
the
go
ones.
to.
Yeah.
And just one of the shrines we're going to is where people abandon dolls that they think are haunted. So you like you go there and there are thousands of Japanese dolls that are just sitting there. You know,
Maybe they'll turn and look at you.
maybe they'll turn and look at you. Just all sorts of crazy stuff. And again, it's going to be equally mysterious, spiritual, beautiful, fun. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll grow, you'll heal. It's guaranteed.
It's just a good, genuine experience. Yeah.
Well,
Again,
folks, mysteriousadventurestours.com. We have a link in the description of this program. I encourage you to go travel the world with both Grant and Reanna. And folks, I want to thank you so much for being on today. And you may end up seeing me on one of these trips. I'm not going to lie.
Let's go. All right. Come on, Tim. Special guest.
Thank you both for being on today. I appreciate it.
thank you for having
Tim,
us.
thank you for having us. It's been a while since we've been on a show, and it's an honor and a privilege to be on your show and to see you again and see you in such good spirits. And would love to do it again.
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's do it again soon. Both definitely. Let's do it again soon. So thank you both.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, this will do it for this week. I want to remind you, check out the YouTube page, the original Darkness Radio. Subscribe. We'll have memberships up soon for that. I want to thank the executive producer of today's program, which is Troy Palmer. Thank you, Troy. Also, let's see, Darkness Radio Apple app. Get the updates. The update is now available right now. And go out and be a light in someone's darkness this weekend. Help somebody out this weekend, whether it be a friend, a neighbor, someone who may be disabled. Hey, winter's still here, folks. Someone may need some help somewhere. So go be a light in someone's darkness this weekend. For Allie Fox, for Jessica Freeberg, for Beer City Brews, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for continuing to watch and listen to the best in paranormal programming. This is Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of Darkness Radio is Troy Palmer. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw today, remember to subscribe to this channel for more. Have a great weekend, and remember to be a light in someone's darkness.